everybody, and welcome back to the. We do this bit every week. DJ, what's the name of our podcast?
So, I think we've finally come to a decision on it. It is now officially, wait for it, drum roll.
Okay.
Pixel Loadout!
Woo! Okay, cool. So we are officially right now the Pixel Loadout, and we're here to bring you all of the latest and most relevant news in gaming this week. As always, I have my regular co-host with me. And first off, I'm Kevin.
I'm DJ.
And returning once again this week,
I am Mike.
and we're here to tell you everything that's going on in the gaming industry. And there was actually quite a bit of news this week. Not all of it in the positive, though, to say the least. So we got to start out with the bad news, unfortunately. And we're going to be talking about a lot of shutdowns and layoffs in the gaming industry, because there were a lot when you count them up over the entire week. So let's go ahead and get off with the one that's probably the biggest and most surprising to me, maybe to you guys as well, but Nintendo Power, the first-party publication from Nintendo, is officially closing.
No, not Nintendo Power. They were the first magazine I subscribed to.
Yeah,
I'm really super sad about it, but
No!
I mean, I in this day and age, I find it less and less, necessary for a company to have its own magazine. Like, I can't remember the last time I looked at the Xbox magazine or the PlayStation magazine, but Nintendo Power has been around since 1988, and is just, they were always the first source you would go to in order to see guides on a game that just came out, or what the upcoming news were, or cheat codes when that was a thing. So it's really sad. They had a bunch of really good covers for their magazine over the years that IGN's been showing off all week, and it's worth taking a look at. Okay, and the rest of the stories that we have going off mainly are layoffs and studio closures and such, which are also really, really sad to hear about. So, first layoff that I heard about this week was Funcom, which apparently is laying off almost half of its workforce around the world, because they have offices all over everywhere. But this is the company that's mainly behind the what their latest claim to fame has been, the Secret World, which is an MMO right now that's placed in the modern day, as opposed to Swords and Sorcery or super far in the future, which is pretty typical for MMOs. I don't suppose any of us have actually had a chance though to try out Secret World.
I've been meaning to, but honestly, today I'm not going to go pay a subscription fee for this MMO when there's Guild Wars 2 that doesn't have a subscription fee. DCU doesn't have a subscription fee. Star Wars: The Old Republic is getting rid of it pretty soon, and I mean, WoW is really the only one that appears to have any success with that form of writing.
I mean, it looked interesting to me because the whole thing is based around story of all the myths and such in the world, if they were actually true, and you have things like the Illuminati and whatnot, all sort of fighting to save the world, which is kind of interesting to me. But it's pretty dramatic to let go of half your studio staff, and I don't think it really is boding well in terms of how things are going for them in terms of as a company, and how their MMO is going to be doing. Mike, I wouldn't be surprised to see if they did go free to play with it, since that does seem to be the latest hot trend.
They're honestly, they're going to have to. I feel like there's no way they're pulling a big enough subscription base to keep that game running.
Okay. Next, we have Sony closing their Liverpool studio. This was a company that was originally known as Psygnosis. It was a really big company in the 1990s, especially for PlayStation, Sony stuff. Their main claim to fame has been the Wipeout franchise, which is a futuristic racer. It's very much like F-Zero. There's been a Wipeout game at launch for most of the Sony systems, and they recently came out with one on the PS3, and those have always been really highly praised. They've done a few other random sort of games too, but yeah, it sucks to see another a studio close down though. So let's see. The next two we have our THQ laying off about 20 people, which doesn't bode well for THQ, since THQ has sort of been dangling by a thread all year. I mean, so as a company, they've recently just published Darksiders 2. They also are doing the next WWE game, apparently. But Darksiders 2, for example, got pushed way, way back, and it was not necessarily for development reasons, but it was mainly because how the company was either in flux, if it was actually going to keep existing, and then if it didn't, who would publish it. So they managed to keep themselves on the S&P, and were able to publish Darksiders 2, which, and put it out for sale, which has been getting, I don't know, I've seen 7.5s, 9s. Have you guys looked at reviews or anything like that, Metacritic scores for it?
I haven't looked at any reviews, but the game looks pretty cool today.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've just been playing the original Darksiders by THQ. I've been having a fun time with that, and I intend to pick up 2 at some point when I get a chance. Of course, for this company, sooner may be better rather than later. And finally, we have PopCap, the company that's famous for its casual games. It's apparently letting go about, the rumor is around 50 people or so. Their main claim to fame is obviously the casual market. They're the main company behind things like Zuma and Plants vs. Zombies. I think they also do Bejeweled, don't they?
Possibly. I honestly don't know.
Okay, but this company was formed around 2000. They're currently owned by EA, so they've been around for like 12 years. And this happened right after their announcement for Plants vs. Zombies 2, which is coming out in 2013, which... for small games like this, it's kind of hard to see reasons for sequels, especially when so many of them have been sort of tapped out with ideas, but I guess we'll see more stuff about it. But yeah, all of these came within 1 week, which all these like announcements of layoffs and stuff, which is really strange to me. Do either of you guys have any idea as to why there might be so many layoffs at the beginning of September or late August?
It's possible that this is the end of Q3. I don't know when all the companies do their accounting and everything, but if it's the end of the quarter, that's probably why.
Okay. I mean, granted though, like the most popular quarter for gaming is almost always Q4,
Right.
and now it's starting to, with the way pushbacks happen, Q1 for like for some people, like I know like Mass Effect 3 for example, this year was pushed back to Q1 as opposed to Q4. But we have all sorts of things to look forward to, for Q4 this year, like World of Warcraft, Borderlands 2, Halo 4, and I think the new Sony like Smash Brothers ripoff thing. I think that might be coming out. Or maybe,
yeah, they tentatively, I think, have announced it.
Yeah.
It's possible to push it back.
And of course, zombies, Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, maybe the companies are just like slimming down because they know they don't. Because a lot of these companies also, they don't have anything coming out this fall-ish. Like Funcom already did their thing, so did THQ. So maybe they're just bunkering down then, I guess, for all the releases from the bigger companies. But once again, sucks to see companies close down, especially smaller ones and stuff like that, and letting people go in this kind of day and age with marketing and whatnot. Yeah. But we'll get to go on to a few more positive things. There's a bunch of rumors that have been going around this week for game sequels, essentially, that we've been looking at. So there was a rumor that was put out that Fallout 4 is going to be set in Boston, and that we're going to get a Fallout 4. I'm a huge fan of the Fallout franchise, and I absolutely loved Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, all this stuff that was basically Elder Scrolls but in the future. And them coming out with a post-apocalyptic game on the same engine that does a Skyrim or something better is, it sounds extremely appetizing to me. We also had Dragon Age 3 was sort of rumored on a questionnaire that EA was circulating. They pretty much sort of revealed it really early, which is really strange for them. Dragon Age franchise has been sort of hit and miss for me. It feels very sort of Mass Effect light-ish, and I was sort of disappointed with Dragon Age 2. And DJ, because I know you love Final Fantasy 13 so much, there's a 13 announcement that's supposed to happen on September 1st. They set up a teaser site, and smart money on this is just being Final Fantasy 13-3, because apparently 13-2 ended on a really big cliffhanger. All it was meant to do was set up the next game. So, any of these games, any of you guys looking forward to?
Not really.
I mean, if Square Enix is really looking to make some money, why don't they just stop being stupid and just remake Final Fantasy VII already.
Yeah, apparently there was a lot of hubbub about the PC version of 7 that came out. Like, it wasn't actually in HD, the achievements were silly, the DRM actually locked out a few people, all sorts of stuff, so they messed that up. They're trying to re-release Final Fantasy XIV this year under a new... Since they messed up all the MMO systems on their first iteration release. Like, they broke things that you couldn't like contact people and stuff in the game over chat and stuff like that, and their trading system was all...
Anything that relies on any kind of online functionality they just suck at.
It just... They basically said, all those conventions that MMOs have been, making progress in the past decade, even us with our Final Fantasy XI stuff. Let's not do any of that. Let's forget all of that, because that's smart.
I mean, you played it for a little bit, didn't you?
Oh yeah, when it was in beta.
Yeah. It never went... did it ever actually go to, like, sales, or did they just close down after the beta because they knew how broken it was?
I'm pretty sure it did go into sales for a little bit, but then they made it free to play, like, super fast. Like,
Yeah. And they also... they still want to make it also released on the PlayStation 3 as well, on release if they can. That's part of their big marketing strategy. But Square Enix has sort of been hemorrhaging money, although, by all accounts, Final Fantasy 13-2 actually did pretty well. Granted, it's sort of like at a budget price right now, but came out really fast off of the heels of 13. Yeah, but those are the big sort of rumors that have been going around this week, so I expect to hear more about this during the fall. I think there's another big games trade show or something coming up within a week or two, so hopefully we'll see some stuff about that. DJ, why don't you take the next story?
So, got a chance to listen to a preview of the Halo 4 soundtrack. Also, the achievement list for the game was released, showing that there's only going to be 8 levels instead of the usual 9 or 10 that are usually in Halo games. David Ellis from 343, though, claimed that Spartan Ops on its own is longer than all of ODST's campaign.
Well, that's encouraging. It's kind of strange, though. I mean, Halo 4 is supposed to come out in November, right?
Yes.
Yes. And we got the achievement list full 2-3-ish months in advance. That's kind of strange to me.
Yeah, it seems like 343 has been doing this for quite a bit. They're just slowly letting information come out. Even stuff that doesn't really seem too relevant to sometimes the topic that they're focusing on for a particular interview. Like, sometimes they'll switch over from Spartan Ops to multiplayer to campaign. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they won't talk about certain things, and every now and then they'll release a video that's showing off some things from the game.
Still, if their claims stick, that this is probably going to be, maybe, if you take into account both the single-player campaign and the Spartan Ops, this may be like the longest Halo game we've seen.
Probably, especially since Spartan Ops isn't even finished when the game comes out. It'll slowly... They're going to do... We talked about this before, but they're going to do it in seasons, basically. So
episodic release.
Right. So when the game comes out, maybe, I don't know, a few weeks after it comes out, Season 1 will be done, and they said they'll continue doing them as long as it's has a decent bit of popularity.
Did they say they want to do like a new episode or level essentially like every week or something?
Yeah, every week.
I think that's kind of ambitious, but if they can pull it off. If there's a company that can, I'd think it'd be these guys. So IGN has a preview though of all the of tracks that are listed from Halo 4. And you guys just got to listen to that. What did you guys think of it?
I thought it was alright. Nothing too fantastic, but certainly a change from the usual Halo sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty diverse. I mean, it didn't sound at all like Marty's Org, obviously, because it's not, but they seem to have a healthy mix of different kinds of, I guess, genres of soundtracks in there, from the enchanting, I guess, gothic tone of Skyrim to, I don't know, sort of electronic beats.
Enchanting, huh? I need to get you to write more of our soundtrack reviews then. But yeah, it sounded more like a movie to me and less like a Halo game. It's gonna be I mean, think about it this way. It's going to be really strange to, start up a Halo game, and I guess it was kind of like this with Reach, but not hear that traditional chorus of, the monks doing the sound and all that. So, yeah. But, I don't know. This guy is... it sounds like he knows what he's doing. I think he's a suitable replacement for Marty as we can get, so... I don't know if it will be as legendary as all of these other Halo soundtracks that we've had, but hopefully it'll still be a good time to listen to and, get you pumped to play. Other stuff quickly for soundtrack news that came out this week. There was information on the Borderlands 2 soundtrack that'll be released on the same day as Borderlands 2, be September 18th. It's being led by Jesper Kyd, who did the first Borderlands game. He also does the Assassin's Creed soundtracks. It's really, really good at doing soundtracks, we'll just put it like that. But he's also going to be assisted by Chris Valesco and Sancha Dickinson, I think is how you pronounce that. From Mass Effect 3, and we also have Rayson Varner from Gearbox. No previews yet or anything but I really enjoyed the first Borderlands soundtrack. Hopefully we'll get to hear some more from this soon, and yeah. Real quick, some odd sort of news that came out was that Black Isle Studio is getting reformed, sort of, which is... for people that don't know, Black Isle Studio is really popular subsidiary from Interplay that came, or it might have been originally Interplay and then changed to Black Isle Studio, part of it anyways, but they're the company that originally came out with Fallout, and they've done a few other games here and there, but they closed down a few years ago. But they're being reopened again. I think it's by EA, but it's really weird because they're not including a bunch of the famous people that made Black Isle Studio what they are. So something to sort of keep eyes on. It does sound like there's some kind of odd skullduggery going on, though, with it.
Wasn't Obsidian also a shoot-off from Interplay once it closed down?
There is some sort of relation between Obsidian Entertainment and Interplay. Obsidian is the company that recently did New Vegas for Fallout. They might actually have been a part of Bethesda. But, yeah, they're another sort of smaller-ish kind of company. And there is some overlap there. Like, I know Chris Avalon and J.E. Sawyer, I want to say they both worked for Black Isle Studio. But they, for example, those being the famous people, they're not on the list of people that are coming back. And the leader of Black Isle Studio right now is working on the Kickstarter project version of Wasteland 2, which is sort of the progenitor to Fallout. Was Wasteland back in the late 1980s, early 1990s kind of thing. Yeah, so keep an eye on that. And Diablo 3 was also really big in the news this week with a patch that got released, I think the Epidemius 1.04. This was the biggest change that Diablo 3 has seen, and supposed to be a lot of fixes for people. One of the big complaints was buffs to legendary items. Originally, when D3 came out, these big orange legendary items, which where I had unique properties and stuff, were largely outclassed by some of the blue and yellow items in game, and people didn't like that, so they got buffed. The gap between Hell difficulty and Inferno difficulty was sort of closed a little bit because Inferno was just a little bit too hard for some people, and they also introduced a Paragon leveling system, which essentially adds 100 extra mini levels after you hit level 60. And every time you gain one of these mini levels for the Paragon level, you get prime stats, like your base stats, like strength and health and stuff like that. And then extra magic find and gold find. And once you hit Paragon level 100, you'll be capped out on magic find, which is really interesting. This fixes a problem that people found, that magic find was just sort of underwhelming on armor. But while they wanted to fix that, they didn't want to completely screw over the people that did build a good armor set to have magic find. So this way people get to slowly turn their magic find stuff into better stats as they get more passive parts of it. So I've been messing around with a little bit with that. The Diablo 3 does feel a lot better now with this patch. We're still waiting though for PvP because there's still not quite enough to do at the end game. Okay, so now let's go and do a new little segment that we may not get to do that often. I imagine once every 3 or 4 weeks we're going to do Champions Corner, where we talk about the new champion for League of Legends. So DJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about the champion that came out?
So apparently his name's Rengar, and he's a lion that likes to jump on things, and he's got claws, very sharp claws.
That would be the
Very informative.
yeah, that would be the exterior analysis of it. Yeah. Have you got to play any games against it at all, DJ, or anything like that?
I played one game with a Rengar, and unfortunately I didn't get to see much of what he was doing because I was bottom lane, he was top lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mike, I know you and I both have bought him since he came out, and you've probably played a few more games than I have, but what are your impressions of him? I mean, I guess I actually might need to give a little bit more info on what he is, though, first. So, how do you classify Rengar, Mike?
He's kind of an interesting character because his mechanics, the way his passive ability and his ultimate work are very assassin-like. But when he's actually in combat, he's really more like a sort of a top lane fighter, very beefy, heavy on the attack damage.
But melee range.
But melee range, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and except that he's got an interesting passive that allows him to auto attack a leap.
Yeah, and that's whenever he's in brush, so he's like the stalking lion kind of type, and he jumps out. So he has a unique resource system, like so many champions, and this is it's not, what is it, Fury, Rage, what do you call it?
Yeah, I believe is what it is.
Something like that, but he has no resources to spend, so he's governed mainly by cooldowns, and every time you use an ability, you get a stack of this Fury thing. Once you hit 5 stacks, one of your abilities become empowered. It feels very similar to Renekton to me, like once you go past a certain thing.
It's a lot. The ferocity is a lot like Renekton's Fury, except it has to be capped out. Renekton sort of has a 50% and then a 100%.
Mm-hmm. So the Q, for example, it is extra damage on next hit, resets the swing timer. W is AoE damage that decreases enemies like resistance and armor, I think is what it is.
I think it buffs his resistance and armor if it hits an enemy.
But it has to hit the enemy, though, to
It
actually
has to
go.
hit the enemy to activate the passive. Also, the Q increases his attack speed.
For like 3 seconds or something like
Yeah.
that, but it's still relevant for another hit. E is Ebola, which is just a snare, and then his...
Well,
yeah,
double
slow.
snare.
And R will make it so he goes stealth, and he gets 5 stacks of his ferocity, and can do a leap attack.
And vision of all enemy champions near him.
Yeah, really weird red blood rage. And so the main thing about him, though, is that once you hit 5 stacks of ferocity, his abilities become empowered, at least his first 3. So what do the empowerments do, Mike?
The first one increases the damage that is attack. Like normally, it increases his damage slightly on an auto attack. This increases that damage, and in addition, increases the speed the attack speed buff that he gets.
Right, and then the W, which is the AoE roar, there's like one thing that gets added onto it. It's the health, right?
Right, it gives him a bunch of health back.
And then finally the Bola, if you use that while it's empowered, you get a snare.
Stun. It's
A stun, yeah, that's right. And the final thing that's really unique about him is that he has an extra item that he can buy in the shop, which is his Bone Tooth Necklace, which really makes him snowbally. So you get stacks for killing an enemy, you lose stacks for dying, just it's 1-to-1 ratio. And
Actually, I think you get 3 stacks for killing somebody.
but you lose just 1 for dying.
You
It
only
might be
lose
2,
1 for dying.
but you get different abilities as a passive plus 10 attack, and then more attack as you level up based on what your level is. And then you'll get things like cooldown reduction, armor penetration. The most unique one, though, is extra leap range or something on it, which is cool. So I got to play a few games with him. He feels really snowbally. Like, if you start winning with him, you win really hard.
He reminded me of Shaco, sort of, in that way. If you shut him down at the beginning, he's not much of a threat.
Now we got to play that game on Friday, though. It was with a 3-on-3 team, and I remember the one game that you guys won. Your Rengar was really fed, and he just started like smashing our faces pretty hard.
I think I actually ended up being the only person on the team fed. That they basically gave me the kills after a while, just because that's the only way we could beat you guys. Sadly.
Yeah. But and with the Bone Tooth Necklace and stuff, I noticed he roams really, really fast. I'm guessing he has a pretty high base like move speed on his own.
He must. I wasn't really paying attention.
So, do you think he's in a good place right now, Mike? Do you think he needs to get nerfed? What do you?
I think he's pretty good where he's at. I can see certain situations where people might, like especially on Twisted Tree Line, he's very, very mobile because of all the brush.
There is a lot of brush on Twisted.
So he might be a little overpowered on Twisted, but as far as Summoner's Rift goes, as long as he doesn't get it at the beginning, he's a lot more like Shaco. He's not really overpowered. You just gotta not feed him at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it's, if you stay out of, like, there's counters to him too. You can put wards in bushes, and that doesn't, when he's in a bush, he's not stealthed. You can still see him, and range can still pretty much harass the hell out of him in the early game.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you stay away from the bushes, you can't close.
But he's a lot of fun, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think he's definitely a good spin for the RP or IP that you have set up. I would say he has a pretty high skill cap, though. Not something for new players, essentially, but because, figuring out how to empower your abilities in what order, that kind of stuff, utilizing bushes, utilizing your stealth, all that kind of thing. So, but yeah. Talked about the league. Well, hopefully, whenever the next champion comes out, we can talk a little bit about him as well. But that was cool. Okay, so let's see. Also, that we have a quick review for this week was Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Both DJ and I got to play it. So, Mike, did you ever get to play Counter-Strike at all?
I played Counter-Strike a long, long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Like, do you still have like DE Dust memorized or anything like that, or?
No.
No. But so this just recently came out this week on Tuesday, and it's got cross-released on both Steam. I know for the 360. I want to say it also probably got released for the PS3. But looking at this is essentially just Counter-Strike for this day and age on the Source engine. So I mean, DJ, what did you think of it? You got to play it.
Yeah. It's definitely, it feels like Counter-Strike. It just seems like it's had a really, really nice paint job.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed and tuned some things, and they made it a bit easier for new people to pick up, I noticed.
Yeah, there's like tips and stuff on how to do it. You learning how to buy weapons and whatnot. But the formula hasn't changed. It's terrorists versus counter-terrorists. Every round you spend money to buy a weapon. If you die, you have to buy weapons again. If terrorists plant the bomb and set it off, they win. But if you disarm the bomb, counter-terrorists win. And then if one team kills the entire other team, they win that round. And you have one life to live, and it's first to 10 or something like that. And there are a few other like sub-game modes in there. Like I know Gun Game, for example, is part of the package.
Right, and there's also sometimes the game variant where the counter-terrorists have to rescue the hostages. It's basically Counter-Strike Source. It just seems like they've added some new things. They fine-tuned some other things. I noticed it's a lot easier to hit people in this game.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've seen a lot online for reviewing stuff is that the hitboxes have had a major revamp. So instead of just being straight up, like the legs are actually identifiably different, and there's no if you shoot between the legs, that doesn't count. But if you manage to just hit shoulders or heads or something like that, it's way more likely to hit as opposed to, the dumbed-down hitboxes from the 1990s. But yeah, so, I mean, but Counter-Strike sort of has, like, an interesting sort of history. DJ, you might know about, like, how it got started, essentially.
I mean, like most of Valve's famous games now, it was just another mod, wasn't it? Just like Team Fortress.
Mm-hmm. I think it was based off of the what was Half-Life's original engine? It was like the Source Gold or something like that, or SRC Gold maybe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And so yeah, people just modified it, and it became so popular that Valve essentially adopted it and turned it into its own product that's been wildly famous online, and probably where we have all sorts of different thing. I mean, DE Dust for a lot of people is famous, and there's reputations for all the weapons and stuff in game, and it's probably where teabagging originating and stuff like that as well. So, but yeah, so it's on Xbox Live. It's $15 if you want to buy it. There's a 45-minute trial that you can try out. Everything's unlocked, and I'll say that's one thing that I find really refreshing about a multiplayer shooter online is that you have everything unlocked from the beginning as opposed to the progression system. So if you just want to get in and play, it's really great for that if you don't want to have to devote a ton of time.
Yeah, and now they have they had this in the Xbox version, but I mean, if you're out of practice, if you want to just slowly get back into it, you can play with just bots, and they take it easy on you on the easier difficulties.
Yeah. It is funny though to see like a few people who haven't messed around with all tried for the first time. Like one of the first comments I have is like, "How do I aim?" It's like because left trigger now is not just aiming; it crouches you instead, which does refine your aiming. But yeah. And reloading with the B button, very weird to me. I always
I mean,
expect.
you can swap your controls if you want. I had to tinker with the controls a little bit before I started playing, but I mean, once you get them all set, it's pretty easy to just pick up and go.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too different. You just, right trigger fire, all that stuff, sticks to move around and whatnot. It all plays very smoothly. The servers, I didn't experience any kind of lag or anything like that, so whatever I got going is fine. Yeah, so, like I said, try out the trial if you're looking for any shooter. It's an old one, but a good one. Okay, and, alright, let's go back over to you, Mike, and why don't you tell me and DJ about Guild Wars 2, which just, I think, got its early release, I believe, was what it was on midnight.
Purchased the game. You got in 3 days before that game actually released. I believe it comes out actually on Tuesday, something like that. But everybody pre-purchased the game, which is essentially probably a huge chunk of people that are going to end up playing it. Got in Saturday at midnight Pacific.
Gotcha.
Or 3 in the morning.
So, how was the servers for? Was there trouble logging in at all, or was it actually pretty good?
Actually, probably the smoothest release for an MMO I've seen so far. But to be fair, they were a little sneaky.
How so?
Because basically, the time they put on the website was the 3 a.m. Pacific or whatever. So I updated my stuff at probably about 2:40 to make sure I was ready to go. You could already get in at that point. So they actually started bringing the server up before they officially told everybody that it was up.
Well, that seems really smart to me, actually.
Yeah, it was great. I got in, no problem at all, no lag, none of the usual crashing and stuff that happens when an MMO. I was fully expecting it. Every MMO that I've ever played has done that.
I am thoroughly impressed by that move because, like, when Diablo 3 came out, which is not even an MMO, there was such demand when I had to wait an hour for everybody just doing the login stuff. If they had, just sneakily said, hey, we're starting like 2 hours early, and if you're smart enough to look at the places where they do this kind of thing, good for you.
Oh, yeah, and they had the game down for 10 hours and up for 6 like that day or something like that. It was ridiculous.
D3 was no good on launch. But,
not a great release. This is the polar opposite of Diablo 3 release.
Okay, so has there been a lot of downtime or anything like that with the servers, or?
Every time I've tried to log in, I've been able to get on. I've not seen any downtime.
And no emergency patching or anything so far?
There was a patch the last time I tried to log in, but it didn't really seem like an emergency. I haven't noticed any major, but there's probably only one major bug that I've noticed, and that was one of the skill point. Like, basically there are areas on the map. You do this challenge to earn additional skill points to purchase your abilities with. You use skill points to purchase those, and there are points on the map where if you complete the challenge, you can get a skill point. One of those doesn't work, but aside from that,
so this is sort of like holocrons from Star Wars, kind of.
Sort of, but the holocrons give you like a stat boost. These are actual points that you use to purchase abilities.
Okay.
That go on your 7, 8, and 9 quick slot bars.
Gotcha. Okay, so, like, this game's only been out for like 3 days, so it would be foolhardy to say, hey, let's do a full review of something when you're not even like max level. But your first impressions, Mike, what do you think of Guild Wars 2?
I think it's a pretty awesome game. The graphics are great. It runs fine on my computer, even though it's about 4 years old. It's certainly better looking than WoW is. The combat is really tight, very simple, easy to learn. It's got fluid ability animations, and one of the better things is once an ability is fired, you can easily dodge out of the way. Its positioning is really important in the game. You have abilities that are area of effect or directly in front of you, and if the enemy moves out of there, it doesn't work.
And I understand it's really different from what the original Guild Wars is, where you would just, if you press the attack button while targeting something, your guy would actually move automatically in place to it.
No, yeah. You control your movement perfectly.
There's also a dodge mechanic right now, so not only can enemies dodge, but you can dodge as well.
Absolutely. On my character, I don't know if other classes get more of this or not, but there's two little bars that slowly fill up, and you use one bar for one dodge move. So I can do, for example, 2 moves in a row without having to rest to get out of the way of certain attacks.
So stamina bars then for dodges. That's
basically, yes.
Okay, so try to explain what is effective level and what does this mean for PvP?
Effective level is the level that your character is playing at. Regardless of what your actual level is, when you join a PvP match, you're automatically leveled up to 80, given the base stats of a level 80 character. And basically what it allows you to do is match up cleanly with basically anybody in the game. Everybody's equal.
Doesn't Tor do something like this for the PvP matches?
I believe so. I think it boosts your stats no matter what level you are, but obviously you're still at a disadvantage because the level 50 people have all their abilities, whereas if you were to start playing PvP at level 10, you'd be limited to only, I don't know, 6 or 7.
And
I think they only buff your HP. They don't actually. They buff your base stats for HP.
Mm-hmm.
The level 80s have PvP that's gonna just beat the crap out of you.
Right. But this is the same though for Guild Wars. Though you're leveled up to whatever the level cap is, but you're still at a disadvantage because you don't have all the skills that a level 80 would have.
Right. But in this game, the way it works is your first 5 abilities always are determined by your weapons.
Right.
So regardless of level, you have 5 abilities that you can unlock really quickly. Like you only have to use one ability for a certain amount of time before it unlocks the rest of them. Every time you learn a new weapon, and then after that you have permanently. And the first abilities are your weapon abilities. Everybody also has a 6th ability, which is a healing ability. Every class in the game has one.
Right.
So the only 3 abilities you have to unlock are there are 4 abilities really. The elite skill, which is really where the high level advantage comes in. And then you have 3 other skills that are picked from a wide pool of them.
Okay. That's sort of traditional for like Guild Wars, like hunting down in the world new abilities and things like that, like trying to find what your elite ability is. Is that what you're saying, or?
The elite ability you don't unlock until you're level 30.
Okay.
And it's based on your class and race as to which ones you can unlock, but that's where the skill points come in.
Okay.
You purchase abilities with your skill points, and then the 7, 8, and 9 slot are all picked from the same pool of abilities. You only have, for example, at a lower level, you only have the 7. Then you unlock the 8th and 9th as you level up. Like I think level 20 is when you have all 3 of them.
So once you're past level 30, since that's when your elite ability unlocks, what is there to do in terms of character progression besides getting better stats?
Well, you get better stats, better gear, and then you unlock more abilities. So, for example, you hit level 30, you buy an elite ability. There's still 7 or 8 other elite abilities that you can unlock if you get the skill points for it.
So more options then, essentially, as you get higher.
Exactly. It doesn't give you a demo or anything when you first try out an ability. So you might buy an ability that you really have no use for.
Yeah, so check on YouTube or something like that before you get committed. So tell me about the classes. What are you playing right now?
I am currently a level 20 Necromancer.
Okay, and so you're a caster then, essentially, right? But
it's sort of hard to say. It depends on what weapon you're using.
So you could be up close and personal with a sword, or be at a range with a gun, and you'd have different skills.
That's the way I play them. I have a dagger and a war horn as my primary weapon set, and I essentially have 4 abilities that are really close up or allow me to close the range, and then a 5th one that sort of is a disable kind of.
Gotcha.
So I get up close and personal, and then I've matched my 7, 8, and 9 abilities for close combat because that's what I'm doing with my guy. But
right,
you can
makes
also
sense.
just as easily use something like the staff, which basically places these AoE. They're a lot like glyphs and Dungeons and Dragons style games where you place them on the floor, and if they step on them, something happens.
Traps then.
Essentially.
Yeah. How many classes are there right now on release?
I believe there's 8, if I'm not mistaken. It's Warrior, Guardian, Elementalist, Necromancer, Thief, Engineer.
Mesmer? Yeah.
I feel like there's another one that I'm missing.
But, I mean, we'll probably expect to see more because ArenaNet's been really... when they do expansions, they almost always add like classes and stuff like that.
Absolutely. We certainly have. Oh, Ranger is the one I like.
Right. And The other thing that's unique about ArenaNet is they don't do a subscription fee. It's you buy it once and then you're good to go the entire time. So they'll probably do expansions in order to keep the revenue up.
Absolutely.
Okay,
They
but
also have any sort of store.
is there any like premium stuff to actually spend money on or nothing like that yet?
It's a little bit of stuff, but it's like there's only a couple of them, and I think they're all vanity items. I only glanced at it real quickly, and right now they're giving away one vanity item for free to anybody that's playing the game. It's like it's a Guild Wars 2 baseball cap, basically, that goes
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So, but positive review you'd say so far in the few days you've been playing?
Oh, absolutely. I'm having loads of fun.
Cool, cool. We'll check back with you again soon to see what you would give your full review on, and if you actually end up getting to the end game, what you think of that. All right, cool. So that takes care of our look at Guild Wars 2.
Press the circle button repeatedly to regain your strength. When you've had enough, press the select button to submit. When your life reaches 0, the game is over. There are no continues, my friend.
We're going to close out the show today with QuickTime events. So, as you may or may not know, for people who have listened before, QuickTime events is where we take a look at some of the smaller news stories in gaming. We get reactions from our co-hosts to see what they think of it. Some of them may be a little bit wacky and strange. Some of them just may be small. I'll direct the question to one person at a time. Feel free, though, for other guy to comment on it. Okay, so we're...
I horribly.
So we're going to start over here with you, DJ. The Kinect got a price cut this week. It is now down to $109.99.
Oh my god, it still belongs in a trash bin.
Yeah, there's just not enough games right now. Wouldn't you say, like, Skyrim maybe with, like, selecting items, or maybe Mass Effect with commands? Those are the only things I want to use it for.
It's not even that. The thing just doesn't work. I mean, it can't read body movements. You seen the review for that, or reviews for that Steel Battalion game?
Oh, yeah, it just was terrible, terrible, terrible reviews of how broken that was. Yeah, hopefully their Kinect 2 with the 2 cameras ends up being better than this. Okay.
Play Dragon Ball.
Going over to Mike, Infinity Blade developer Chair is doing a new game on the iOS. It is a Romney versus Obama brawler.
That sounds kind of entertaining, honestly.
Yeah. I can't imagine sales doing very good, though, past this year, so...
No, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I'll look up on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to DJ, Microsoft is electing to do a election hub on Xbox Live Arcade. So you can go to, or Xbox Live, just essentially, is you can go to Xbox Live to a separate page and just look at the news that's going on in the election cycle.
Oh, it's just news.
Essentially, yeah, they've you know what's being reported by NBC. They also have links to like the Daily Show and the Colbert Report. So
It'd be interesting if you could vote from your Xbox, although I'm sure someone will find a way to exploit that.
yeah,
I
I mean,
do you really want somebody to play Xbox?
No.
have you heard about the conspiracy theory though for like Halo 4? Its release date is on Election Day.
Oh, yeah.
So some people are thinking that it's a conspiracy by like the Republican Party, because we all know that the gamers are dirty liberals, so that's how we keep them inside, just so they pick up Halo 4 and they don't vote.
There you go.
I'm gonna vote today. Ooh, Halo 4!
Yeah, something shiny. Okay, going back to Mike. Dark Souls port came out this week on the PC, but the resolution was terrible. But good news for that, though, is that there was a fan fix, an unofficial patch, in order to upscale the resolution so it wasn't so bad. How long did it take for this patch to get hacked together?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably not that long, though. Fans are pretty quick with that kind of thing.
Okay, after the midnight release, it was a total of 27 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah, some people really like them Dark Souls. Apparently, there was the issue was reported a week early, so somebody had been working on it before the game even had come out, and had the.
Fans fix that in 7 minutes, what the hell was the development?
Well, it's a FromSoft. These guys that do Armored Core and stuff, they've had no PC experience at all in the past. The only reason they did Dark Souls is because for the PC is because people demanded it so greatly. So.
Fair enough.
Okay. Going over to DJ, there are 2 Capcom franchises that are coming to the iOS. What are they?
I just died. I didn't answer in time. I have no idea.
Okay. One of them is going to be Resident Evil Mercenaries. And the other will be Monster Hunter.
Resident Evil Mercenaries. Didn't that game not do so well because you couldn't delete the data?
Yeah, that was the big problem on the 3DS. Is if you bought the game used, you had everything unlocked from whatever the previous person did. I don't know if this is going to be a straight port of what that was, but you know you're going to get the mercenary style of game though on your iOS somehow. You know, so just round-based and multiplayer working together to take out zombies. All right, going over to Mike. A major video game company has registered a trademark for something called Console Wars. Which company was it?
Oh, I don't know. I'd go with. That sounds so silly. It's gotta be Nintendo.
Nah, actually ended up being Sony.
Sony, really?
Yeah,
They're losing.
there is some sort of weird speculation that they might be doing some sort of video game movie tie-in like this too. And I mean, you know, Sony does movies, Sony Pictures and all that, so maybe, but yeah, kind of hard to tell. Going over to the DJ, Peter Molyneux, famous for Fable and making promises that he can't keep, has a new project called Curiosity. Why can he not use this particular name? Turns out that NASA shut him down for the Mars rover stuff. So he had to change it now to be called Curiosity: What's in the Cube. Apparently this game is like some sort of social engineering media thing where they're gonna everybody can use chisels to chisel away at a cube. Whoever does the last tap gets profiled in a social experiment somehow. I don't. It's really weird. But Peter Molyneux elected. He wanted it instead to be called Cube of Duty for the name change, but was denied. Okay, going to Mike. All current race class combos in World of Warcraft are opening up to everyone regardless of what your expansion is.
That's alright. I mean, it's kind of obvious that they're just doing that so that people will play Pandaria. But, I mean, I have no problems with that.
Yep. So, I don't know. Feels more and more closer to getting the whole free-to-play thing now that you can do your level 20 thing and you be any class that you want, any character, even the Worgen and Goblin that just got released.
I
okay.
believe they go free to play when they stop making a freaking
ton of money.
$150 million a month.
Yeah. Okay, finally going to DJ. DLC is getting added to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and is coming out later this fall. The game is 2 years old. And it's getting DLC now.
What are they doing? Adding more instruments for you to beat people up with?
Yeah, adding a new fighter, actually. They're putting Wallace Wells in. But it's really strange to me to see DLC added so late into a game, but, more power to them.
Still play that?
Well, I mean, DLC just recently came out for Left 4 Dead 2. I mean, came out in 2010? 9? No, 9, yeah.
Wait, Left 4 Dead 2 was 09?
No, it's probably 10.
Or probably early 10.
Yeah, it's gotta be. But, yeah, I don't know. Might be worth checking out, because, it's very similar to Castle Crashers, so... I don't know, we gotta play through that co-op sometime. Maybe we can start doing Let's Plays. And that is our QuickTime events for the week. Okay, and that's pretty much all the news for the week. So I want to thank you both for coming on with me. Do either of you guys have any announcements or anything like that?
I am solid.
Okay. Hopefully this show will be going up to the net very soon. I hope to put a YouTube video for this as well. And I am also planning to get this broadcasted onto my college's TV station, Spartan TV. So take a look out for that. And yeah, that's all I got for this week. So once again, this is Pixel Loadout. I'm Kevin Harrison.
I was Mike.
Okay, and we'll see you next time.